transfers, of course. The back of the eye, John, talks about United being frustrated by Brentford's high Mbeumo valuation. Obviously, they've signed Cunha. We get on to him in a bit. But, you know, Mbeumo, they need to add a few more in the forward positions, don't they, and a bit of quality. But this one looks far from done at the moment.
Yeah, Mark Douglas there, I think, going as far as to sort of say that basically that the deal has stalled, which would be quite a worry for Man United fans. I have to say on this one, United frustrated by Brentford's high valuation. Well, he was a fantastic player for Brentford last season, absolutely brilliant, and basically goals, assists, his output. The notion that somehow Brentford will roll over and give him a cheap price. Well, if they don't like the price, you know what they can do. They can walk away from it. That's what they can do. They don't have to pay it because Brentford don't absolutely have to sell. Brentford, extremely well-run club. They're in no absolute emergency state that they have to sell. I think they're expecting to sell him, but, you know, and probably expecting someone to come in with a fair price. And I think actually, because in there they're sort of saying 55 million, you know, is perhaps what United are thinking, 55 million plus add-ons. Well, I have to say, if they get Brian Mbeumo for that, I think they're getting themselves a bargain. So no wonder Brentford are driving a hard bargain. I actually think that, sorry, United, but if you don't think you can pay that, I mean, I guess United's issue is that they've signed Cunha, they're after Mbeumo, and they still need a centre forward. So bearing in mind they've got kind of PSR juggling to do and they need a lot of outgoings to manage as well. I think they will have to manage their finances very carefully. And that's more the point, isn't it? It's not about Brentford driving a hard bargain. It's about United needing to do their sums. And that's why the sticking point is. So, you know, decent story. And if indeed the deal is stalled, then that's a worry for United. But I have to say, there's no reason why Brentford would you know, lower their price just to hand him to United. Absolutely no chance.
Yeah, and Charlie, I guess there's always that Man United tax, isn't there? They've got a history, recent history suggests they tend to pay over the odds for these players. They are, if not desperate, then, you know, they really do need some changes in those forward positions. Brentford know that, but it's a fair point about the outgoings. What comes first? Do they get Mbeumo and then offload? And then they're going to face the same problem the other way round.
Yeah, I think they'll get Mbeumo still and then offload. And there's a fair amount of offloading to do, isn't there? You know, 4 or 5 players, you know, big name players that are not going to be involved over the next few days and weeks, and we know all about them. But look, Mbeumo is desperate to join Manchester United. I think he's making that quite clear. So I'm sure it will happen. But as John said, you know, it'd be ludicrous to expect Brentford to expect anything other than top dollar for a top player who was outstanding last year and without doubt will add to the United team compared to previous seasons when they've taken slight gambles, you know, by bringing in the likes of Højlund and Xerxes from Italy. You know, Mbeumo will hit the ground running. He'll make an instant impact for them. And that's why Man United are going to have to pay a bit more. They know it. I'm sure they expected it. So I'm surprised it's stalled. I'm sure it will happen. And after that, before they can think of signing any more players, they've got to start getting rid of some.
Yeah, and Crossy, I mean, Charlie makes a fair point about the Mbeumo coming from the Premier League, being proven in the league. Another man who is very much proven in the league is Matheus Cunha, and the back of the sun. Cunha starts for United. Nice picture of him carrying his boots into the training ground and everything. He'll want to hit the ground running, but he is a proven Premier League player, unlike some of those signings that Charlie just mentioned.
Yeah, and I think that Cunha, it's a nice story here. A few papers have got it on the back, really, that Cunha basically turned up and was kind of first through the door, really, at United for sort of kind of pre-season training, couldn't wait to get started. And I love that enthusiasm about it. Listen, let's not kid ourselves. United still has that pull. It basically it's a huge football club and a lot of players want to play for it. I mean, that's why Cunha's keen, sort of Mbeumo's keen. That's why Cunha there with his boots in hand couldn't wait to get through the door. You know, and they've sold the vision there. They've sold the dream of the club, basically, and he could be part of it to revolutionise the club. And I do think that there is something about signing just players that, you know, are proven and Premier League ready, if you like. and can slot straight in and make an impact straight away. There's so many players that take a bit of time to settle, who haven't had a sort of kind of experience of English football or indeed the Premier League. And I do think that United are clearly angling for players that do have Premier League experience to bring, particularly to their forward line. And I think that just means they had so many problems last season, United, and they were so inconsistent that I think Amorim wants a completely clean slate, a bit of a fresh start, a fresh forward line. And I do think if he's going to do that, he cannot lose about 3 months while players take their time to adjust to English football. And I think that's the key for me. I still think that Amorim, particularly, I like some of the business that he's aiming to do, and then obviously players are going to go out. But I think that actually if they end up with, a good centre forward and those two wide players, Cunha and Mbeumo, I think that's got the ingredients of quite an exciting sort of kind of front three. And also it's potentially got, if they get the right striker, then also it's got potentially oven ready, if you like, as someone once said, about sort of kind of Premier League proven ability.
Yeah, I mean, that, of course, Charlie, at the moment is still an if, as we said with Mbeumo. They've still got to get the striker over the line, whoever that may be. Gyökeres being very strongly linked, of course, to Arsenal. And I'm just looking at the signings that Arsenal have made. Chelsea have obviously been very busy. Manchester City have done early business, as of Liverpool. Is there a danger that Manchester United, one, could get left behind by those clubs if they haven't already been left behind? And how conscious would Amorim be of what other clubs are doing when he hasn't really been able to get much done yet?
He'd be conscious of that, and it'd be really frustrated as well. But equally, he wouldn't have been surprised, because United know the situation they're in, and the players they've got to get rid of. Big, high-earning players, players that will take some shifting. There's some good ones there, but of course, the likes of Marcus Rashford. He might have his heart set on Barcelona, but I think Bayern Munich have got him at sort of fifth on their list. But these are not simple transfers to do. It's a lot easier getting Mbeumo out of Brentford to Man United, of course. That should have happened quite quickly, and I'm sure it probably will do. But United know they've got some hard work ahead of them, and Amorim would have known that, to be honest.
It feels like a huge summer, doesn't it, for Manchester United, in particular Ruben Amorim, off the back of their worst ever season in terms of league position in the Premier League. What can he do in his first full season in charge, and indeed his first full pre-season at Manchester United? This is his opportunity to really stamp his authority on this squad, and it feels as though we're going to get a lot of players coming in and out. Now, in terms of arrivals, a lot has been made of Matheus Cunha's signing from Wolverhampton Wanderers, a player who is proven in the Premier League, not just in terms of his goal scoring, but that technical, creative ability, which is something that at large parts of the season last season was lacking for United. So for Ruben Amorim to have him in early in this summer transfer window is fantastic in terms of preparation. And in terms of early, Ruben Amorim was here at the training ground before 7 o'clock this morning. Matheus Cunha, the first of United's first teamers to be reporting back for pre-season, he was here before 8 o'clock this morning. So clearly both Amorim and Cunha determined to start this pre-season on the front foot, because there are still a lot of unknowns. We know that United are hoping to be busy in the transfer market in terms of incomings in the next couple of weeks. And in terms of outgoings, there are 5 players who are noticeable by their absence and will be throughout this first week of pre-season, not least Marcus Rashford, who has seen his number 10 squad number given to Matheus Cunha. He's been told essentially to stay away from the training ground for now and go and try and find yourself a move this summer. Likewise, Anthony, Alejandro Garnacho, Jadon Sancho and Tyrell Malacia, those 5 players not expected back with the rest of their United teammates this week as they try and seal moves away. And certainly the United squad could look very different by the time they got on the plane to travel to Sweden for the first game of pre-season in Stockholm against Leeds in a couple of weeks' time.
Alejandro Garnacho, Marcus Rashford, Anthony, Jadon Sancho and Tyrell Malacia will now not report with the rest of the squad at Carrington on Monday morning, and will have to wait until later in the month. United believe that is the best way forward, with all 5 players exploring moves away from the club this summer. They will still be given access to the medical and rehab facilities at Carrington should they want to come into the training ground, and be welcomed back if they cannot find a new club over the next few weeks. United's decision came after it emerged on Friday that Rashford was expecting to play a full part in pre-season while he remains a United player. The 27-year-old, who spent the second half of last season on loan at Aston Villa after a fallout with Ruben Amorim, has been linked with Barcelona and Bayern Munich. Marcus Rashford has been stripped of his squad number at Manchester United. Alejandro Garnacho does not have to report on Monday like his teammates. Antony had a great spell on loan with Real Betis and he is eager to leave Manchester United. United sources have confirmed that his number 10 shirt is being given to new €62.5 million signing Matheus Cunha, but added that Rashford will remain a significant part of the club's recent history and always be respected as one of United's most successful academy graduates. Garnacho, meanwhile, was told by Amorim to pray that he can find a new club this summer after upsetting the United boss with his reaction to being benched for the Europa League final against Tottenham. Napoli have an interest in Garnacho while Chelsea and Tottenham are believed to be two of three Premier League clubs considering a move for the Argentina winger. Sancho was due to return to training after Chelsea paid a €5 million penalty rather than turn his loan at Stamford Bridge into a permanent deal worth up to €25 million. Juventus are interested in taking Sancho on loan but can pay less than half of his €275,000 a week wages. Antony had a successful loan spell at Real Betis in the second half of last season and the Spaniards would like to keep him. However, they will have to negotiate a new deal with United that could see the Brazil winger return to Spain on loan with an obligation to buy him for a fee of around €30 million. Malaysia was also due back at United after PSV Eindhoven decided not to make his loan move permanent for €8.3 million and knows he is unlikely to figure in Amorim's plans. Rashford's number 10 shirt has been given to Matheus Cunha, regardless of whether he leaves. Ruben Amorim returned to Manchester United's training ground ahead of pre-season on Friday. Preparation for the new season picked up some momentum on Friday as Amorim and his staff returned to Carrington. Amorim was all smiles as he reported for duty at Carrington after enjoying time in his native Portugal, and he was soon joined by his coaching staff.